We're moving on to our next group discussion. We're going to be talking about addressing some myths, some misconceptions, misunderstandings about skilled trades careers. Please welcome Celeste Lamondin, brick and stone mason, Kate Parr, millwright foreman, Jesse Pattison, auto body and collision damage repair. Another way of putting it, I think, auto body tech, but he might put it a different way. I'm going to actually start with Jesse. Jesse, it's been said, written, that auto body and collision damage repairs fix and restore damaged motor vehicles, including exterior, interior, electronic components, but I'm sure there's more to the job. Can you say a little bit about it and how you got interested in the first place?
Yeah, so definitely outside, inside, all that kind of stuff, electronic components, but it goes a lot farther than that too. You're into frame damage and you're into all that kind of stuff. So there is a lot of measuring and just a lot more math than you would think. Just a lot of people think that auto body techs are just paint, slap some filler on it, and paint it, but the way the cars are going now is just like so much more. You got frame damage, you're replacing structural panels and doors and fenders. It's a lot more than just what people think. And how I got into it was basically high school classes, taking co-op and all that kind of stuff. There was auto body classes in high school, and they were really cool. You got to get in the paint booth and spray some stuff. So it was kind of gave me an idea of what it was, and I hopped into a co-op, and I've been there since. So
Excellent. Thanks so much, Jesse. We're going to come back to you again. Kate Parr is a millwright foreman. Let me tell everybody what a millwright does. Millwrights install, maintain, troubleshoot, repair stationary industrial machinery and mechanical equipment. Did anyone understand what that meant? I'm not sure. Kate, can you untangle what that means? Really, what does a millwright do? And also, people are probably noticing foreman next to your name. Tell us what a foreman does and how you got there.
So, probably the easiest way that I use to describe my job is I'll compare it to an auto mechanic, where you have a car, you have electrical components within that car, you have hydraulic components, structural components. Millwrights are the mechanics, just like an automotive mechanic works on automotive, like cars or trucks. Millwright is the mechanic of the industrial world. So any machine that makes something from a machine that processes steel to a machine that processes food, power plants where power is generated to go onto the grid, anything that rotates or any machine component pretty well on planet Earth is serviced by a millwright. So I work as a millwright contractor, meaning that I work for a company where clients will call us and say something is broken or I have a project going on, I need your help with it. And we are the contractors who will show up and fix the equipment on site or take on that project. So my role as a foreman, I have quotes, I have projects, and I need to plan materials and manpower. I need to delegate tasks, and we show up in a truck each day and go about our job, try and do it efficiently, properly, without any issues, and then we go home happy at the end of the day.
Great, Kate. Thank you. And is it correct to say that becoming a foreman is a type of promotion?
Yes, it is. Yeah, usually. So I started out as a first year apprentice, and then I went through my apprenticeship. I've been doing this for about 5 years now, and I only recently, within the last month, got a promotion to foreman. So now I have a work truck and I have a small crew working under me. So it's a huge change for me to handle. So I'm a junior foreman, but I'm still really excited to be taking it on.
That's awesome. If we had the ability to do little hand claps and emojis, I'm sure they'd be flying up right now. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Celeste is everybody, brick and stone mason. Brick and stone masons build and repair walls, floors, arches, pavings, partitions, fireplaces, chimneys, smokestacks, and other structures. I like to say that brick and stone masons take things that were once beautiful and make them beautiful again. And I think many people, when they meet Celeste, are surprised to learn that she's a brick and stone mason. We'll talk about those reasons a little later. But Celeste, why don't you tell us how you got interested in your trade?
So, hey, um, basically, after high school, I needed to support myself financially. So I was like working absolutely any job I could work. And then I found myself like longing to work outside during the summertime. So I took a landscape job, but it's like hardscaping. So it's like interlock, it's like the fountains, like walkways, all those kind of things. And I really, really enjoyed it because I got to use my body. I was outside, I was like working with great people. And then I remember there was a passing comment that my boss made. He's this like 72-year-old super jack guy, and he was like, "Oh, like why don't you take an apprenticeship?" And I was kind of like, "Oh, I don't know about that." But like turns out like I just remember this. Like I didn't even think about him until today. I was like, "Oh yeah, like he said this to me. He told me I should get an apprenticeship. It'd be amazing." But I was like, I dismissed it. But what happened after that? I think I worked like two more like indoor jobs, basically like either like management or distribution. And I was like, I'm tired of this. I want to do something different. Like, I want to earn more money. And I was like, okay, like, what options do I have? So I started looking into, like, I guess apprenticeships. And then I saw a brick and stone mason apprenticeship that was starting relatively soon. I was like, why not, like, go for it? Like, it's better than, like, just spending my time doing things like I don't necessarily enjoy. So I'm going to try to do something that I think I'll enjoy. So I started my apprenticeship about 3 years ago. I'm still my level 2. I'm going to go do my level 3 in January. And that's how I got here.
Awesome. Thank you, Celeste. And one thing you said that we heard from the earlier panel too is sometimes there's this moment when it's another adult, maybe it's a guidance counselor, maybe it's another person in your life who happens to say, why don't you try this? So I think for anyone who's in education, we should be really remembering how important our suggestions are, our words are, the way we talk about certain careers, because there are certainly younger people who pay attention to that. Jesse, let's go back to you. What does it mean to be an apprentice? And how long does an apprenticeship last? This was a common question among many students.
So basically, an apprentice, you're still learning, right? You're in school. You're depending on how long your program. Mine is a 3-year program for 7,500 hours. So you got first year, second year, and third year apprentice. So first year, you kind of move your way up. So you learn the basic stuff in school, and then obviously in second year, you're getting more into electrical components and stuff like that. And then third year, you kind of learn more framework and super important kind of things like structural panels and like that stuff. But basically, it's just your learning stages, right? You start like in high school, grade 9, you're not learning complicated stuff like you are in grade 12, right? So it's just you're learning through the stages and building your way up. And then after your 3 years of apprenticeship, you can go write your test, your CFQ. And then you can, if you pass, your license. So basically that.
Great. So something you mentioned, I think if some people might have heard 7,500 hours.
Yep.
We heard Andrea in the previous panel mention 9,000 hours. So what people need to remember is that depending on the trade, the number of hours required is different. And one great way to learn more is just try to find someone who can answer those questions within your school, so you know what you're facing. Let's get into really the meat of this particular topic here, this panel discussion about myths, misconceptions. For you, what have been some myths about being an auto body damage repairer or a tradesperson in generally that you'd like to correct for the record?
I kind of touched on it earlier with being an auto body tech. I remember when I was in high school and I was thinking about doing it for a career, I had a bunch of older people come up to me and say, "Oh, all auto body people, all they do is just fill panels and paint over top," right? And that's kind of bothers me a bit because it's so much more, right? Like I said. But as far as myths for just tradespeople, I mean, a lot of people just think, oh, just blue collar, just get your hands dirty, and not very smart people. But we do all graduate high school and go to college for a long time, 2-3 years. So we definitely, I don't know if I truly believe that we're not very smart people. Obviously, we're smart in a different sense. Like if you talk to Celeste about brick and stone, I'm sure she could tell you everything about it. Or for me, for cars, I'm sure it would just be, you wouldn't understand half the stuff, right? Everyone's got their own thing. And if you can find yours in the trade, I would say go for it, because you learn a whole lot of stuff that you wouldn't know for sure.
Jesse, I think you hit something that maybe some people were thinking, maybe even coming into this event, they had their mindsets really changed by realizing just how smart everybody is. And it really is, I think, a benefit of having you all here, so people can see for themselves the type of intelligence that's involved when pursuing excellence in a particular area, which is what each of you are doing, and seeing these patterns in the real world and how to solve problems for people. So that's a great one for that you've addressed. Let me go to Celeste. Celeste, what are some myths or misconceptions that people have about brick and stone or being a tradesperson that you'd like to address?
I think so. A misconception specific to brick and stone masonry, especially being a woman, is you have to be like extremely strong to do it. I think that's the biggest one. Like all the time when I tell people, "Oh, I'm a mason," they're like, "Oh, like really? Like you?" And I'm like, "Obviously, like I'm small, I'm short, like I don't generally look strong, but it's not about strength, and most of what we're doing is not incredibly like heavy duty. Like I don't understand why people have this misconception, but it's there. Like I understand like majority of the men that you see are like big burly dudes, but like for me, anybody can do it. Like, but then another misconception or myth about the trades in general, I think, is what I had myself coming in, like even starting to apply for brick and stone masonry. Like the biggest thing in my head is like, I don't want people to think I'm stupid or I can't do anything else. Like that was the biggest one for me. And like I was like in high school gearing myself to be a nutritionist or a dietitian. Like all my courses are stacked up for that. And then financially, like I couldn't afford it. I couldn't support myself through university or college. And I'm like, okay, like I need something that will like help me financially in the future. Like I want to be financially stable. Like, and seeing brick and stone masonry and like what I could do with it, I'm like, okay, like I need to get over all these feelings that I have and just pursue something that I know is good for me. It doesn't matter what people think of me. So that's one of the biggest misconceptions or myths for me.
Excellent, Kay. I'm sure many people are, Celeste, many people are inspired by what you just said about, being your true self. And we're going to come back to this topic of the physical demands shortly. But for now, let me ask you, Kate, for you, what are some myths about being a millwright or well, myths about being a millwright? No one knows what a millwright does. Let's get that out of the way. Okay. Or they're confused about it. But how about some misunderstanding about the work that you do or about being a tradesperson?
Exactly as Jesse and Celeste mentioned, one of the biggest misconceptions is that you need to be huge and strong, typically male, to work in this profession. A lot of times I've had comments of like, oh, you'd make a better electrician, or I'm surprised you're not in instrumentation, because those are other industrial trades. But size doesn't really have anything to do with it. The main thing that I try to explain to people is there's multiple ways of getting to the same conclusion. There's multiple ways of doing the same job. And for the most part, your employer wants you to use mechanical advantage. They want us to use rigging. They don't want us to lift with our knees all the time. We work with heavy machinery, and I'm more than capable of lifting 50 pounds. But if I can rig it onto a table rather than bending down and lifting it, my employer would rather have me do that anyway. So there are several ways of getting around the size or the strength issue. I don't find it to be an issue that often, though. And then I believe truly a lot of people think that the trades are for those who can't make it into university or college. I think sometimes that stems from high school, guidance counselors, from your parents, just from stigma. I know at my high school, the courses were laid out where in grade 11 and 12, the highly academic courses were labeled university level courses, and then the lower academic classes were labeled college. So it already puts that notion in people's heads that if you're not as capable, then you're college or you're like workplace bound. And I don't think that's healthy. In my job at Conestoga College, where I did my block release and day release, I needed to do physics class. I needed to do math. I use science. I write down calculations every single day on the job. And it's a highly technical career. We need to know how to interpret drawings, communication skills with clients. That's completely underrated. doing work orders or permits. There's so many skills that go into every single trade. It's not just picking something up and placing it here. There's so much intelligence and thought that goes behind like every task that you do every single day. It's the most interactive career, well beyond honestly what I thought it was even going to be.
Well said, Kate. I think you're selling several people on learning more for sure about the millwright skilled trade. Something you said that's worth repeating, this idea of the hierarchy of university, college trades, which is a thing of the past, and many of us should remember. I work in an area where I follow all kinds of people in different careers. And for anyone listening, I want you to know everyone's path is different now. Some people go to university and then they go to college right after, or they go to college into the world of work, or they start, as some people here, as an apprentice in high school and then go right into the world of work. Many people have different pathways now, and we shouldn't be putting one above the other. They're all just different and unique to each individual's choice. Jesse, there's a misconception that the trades are low paid. Do you have anything to say about that?
I think when you first start out in the trades, like learning and you don't really know too much, right? You're not in school or anything. For sure, you're going to start with low pay and all that kind of stuff. But the more experience you have and the more schooling you have, the more you're going to get paid. And as an apprentice, you get paid to go to school. School is free. So you're not in debt with like university bills or anything like that. So first year, I think I paid $400 for school, and that goes through every year. You get loans and all that kind of stuff. So I know big shops that pay really good body techs over $100,000 a year, right? The better you are, the more you get paid. So I don't think that's the truth. So
Thanks, Jesse. And let's address that with you, Kate, and I'll come to you, Celeste. How do you address this myth that the trades are low-paying jobs?
Yeah, just as Jesse said, for my first year and second year, I was still making well above minimum wage, but I was making a lower end rate for the skilled trades. But that's just an apprenticeship. Once you work your way up, the more knowledge and skill that you have, the more valuable you are. So your employer can send you out on bigger jobs or by yourself, and now you are more profitable. So they will invest more money into you, and then you will give them more out of it. And the aspect where you're going to work every day and you're getting paid for your education. It's been 5 years now that I've been working, and my tuition, as Jesse said, is $500 a semester. So I've only paid $1,500, and now I've been working 5 years, and I have a great paycheck at the end of the week. I have savings. I don't have any debt. I have my own car. There's just a lot to show for it, and I think it's a really great way to start off a career.
Kate, do you mind if I ask your age for anyone who's curious?
I'm 23. Started right out of high school. I started when I was 18.
Right. 23-year-old millwright foreman, as you just said, debts paid off, has your own vehicle. I'll address something because it came in many times from students, questions related to how much money can be made. What are the wages like? What are the salaries like? There's so many different types of trades. In high school, you have the opportunity, everybody, to explore more than 140. And of course, the salaries are going to be different for each type of trade. But on the whole, as someone who's talked with many different tradespeople, the evidence is there that many people in this trades, if you think about Kate, who's only 23 right now, by the time they're in their mid or late 20s, they are earning more than $100,000 a year. That's different from many people who have jobs that are called salaried jobs, where you're paid a certain amount a year and you work more extra hours, you don't get paid. In many careers in the skilled trades, if you work extra, you get extra money. It's called time and a half, double time, which is a nice luxury, I think, for other people, for people in the trades compared to others. There is this idea, Celeste, of the trades as being physically demanding. Can you say a little bit more based on your experience? Has it been demanding on you and had a negative effects?
Being a brick and stonemason, like generally, yes, it's very physically demanding. But that's exactly why I got into the trades. Like I wanted to move my body. I wanted to be strong. I wanted to be like mentally fit. So yes, it is physically demanding, but that is my job. Like I can only speak for my job. I see other trades, and part of me is like, oh, like I wish I could be doing that. That seems like a little bit easier. But it's not to the point where it's detrimental to my health. I think you have the choice yourself to be like, I don't want to do this. Like I'm not physically capable of doing this. And so if you don't want to, I guess, put yourself in a situation where your body doesn't perform that to like optimal, you choose yourself. Like I am feeling good right now. Like I don't have aches and pains. Like my family was telling me like, watch out, you're gonna hurt your back, you're gonna mess up your shoulders and things like that. But like I think it's just how you maintain yourself.
Great. Thanks, Celeste. Just going to shift to Jesse here. Jesse, a question came in. What skills have you learned as an auto body tech that can be used every day in your everyday life?
Well, for the ladies I'm speaking with, they all have their own vehicles, and so do I. So you drive your vehicle every day, breaks down. We don't just know how to paint, right? We do simple things like oil changes and tire changes and suspension work. So everything that happens with your car, you know a lot more about, and it can help you in your everyday by not spending $1,000 at the mechanic shop, right? You know how to fix it yourself. You buy the parts and you can do it yourself, right? So and I think it overall just makes you a handier person, like around the house, just all that kind of different stuff. It just gives you a different mindset and just it helps you out a lot.
It's fair to say that by knowing what's under a car engine, if you needed to repair a lawnmower, you would know the basics of how to do that.
Yes, for sure. I drive lots of Sea-Doos and boats and tractors and all that kind of stuff, and I could probably get underneath and fix majority of them without really going to school for it and that kind of stuff. So
Excellent. Um, let's go to a question that we heard from actually several students. It's around students who are interested in a trade, but their parents are skeptical. What is your advice for students whose parents are uncertain about skilled trades careers?
I think all you need to tell them that it's a high-paying, successful career that's always in demand. Like as soon as you say that, like, why wouldn't you want a job like that? So I think that's that. Like if you're the parent, like you would feel the urge to support your kid after they say that. Yeah.
Great. Give them some information that they maybe didn't know, right? High paying and in demand. Thanks, Celeste. Kate, how about you?
Yeah, this is an interesting question because both of my parents are school teachers and they wanted me to go to university and follow in their footsteps right after I was done high school. And I was pretty lost in high school, didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to go to university for, and I felt really lost. And I ended up finding a home in tech class, and the gears started turning. And I wondered if I could do this full time. So it was completely my idea to enter the trades. And of course, going to my parents saying, hey, I don't want to go to university. I want to take on a trade. They were, I think disappointed is the wrong word, but they were very shocked and they did not think that it was a good decision. But now looking back at how far I've come and what I've accomplished and in my career, recently branching out into a foreman and having no debt, all of these little things go into this greater picture of what I consider success and what I didn't think that I could make it this far in the time that I have. And now if you were to ask my parents, they would say that Kate is happy, that she's accomplished a lot, that we're extremely proud of her. And that just goes to show that sometimes your parents' advice isn't always the best for you in particular, or isn't exactly what you want to do. And I'm really glad that I took that leap and I decided to enter the trades, because I think I've completely changed not only my parents' opinion, but my friends' opinion, and a lot of other parents that my parents are connected with personally. So it's awesome. I love it.
I agree. That's awesome, Kate. Thank you. I'll ask you, Jesse, do you mind? How old are you?
I'm 20.
20. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the question from one student is, where do you see yourself professionally in 10 years? So when you're 30.
I see myself moving into more of an office position where you're doing more estimates or you're kind of organizing the shop and running it more than what I am doing right now is working on the floor and fixing the actual vehicles. As I progress, I would like to move up into like a head tech position where it's basically like the foreman of a shop. And then from there on, it'd be nice to move into an office position kind of, so I don't have to be working with my hands, my body for the rest of my life. But that would be my goal.
Okay, well, let us know in 10 years. And I hear from many people who go to the office that they wish they were back out there, but we'll see. We'll see. Thank you, Jesse. Celeste, how about yourself? Can you let everyone know how old you are? What is your age?
I'm 24.
You're 24. So in 10 years, where do you see yourself?
In 10 years, hopefully, I will have a successful heritage masonry business. But I want, what my goal is to have, like, a generally, like, all-female crew. Hopefully, that will be a thing. And I want to be able to instruct students or, like, the younger generation about brick and stone masonry, because it is kind of like a dying craft. So I think having, like, a woman instructor doing that will, like, be incentive for other girls to come and learn this trade. And honestly, like Jesse, I don't really want to be using my body for the rest of my life. Like, I would like to be pursuing other things that I find enjoyable. Like, hopefully I'll be, like, successful enough to, like, branch out to other kinds of things that I like. Like, I really want to do health and nutrition, so hopefully that will give me the opportunity to have more time and money to do that.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes. When you're making good money, that also offers some freedom, right? In pursuing other things. Kate, you're getting the last word here. Where do you see yourself? 23 now, when you're 33?
I don't even want to think about 33. For right now, I have already made it as far as I thought I would ever make it, which is kind of almost sentimental to talk about. But again, my promotion is pretty new, and I thought a foreman position would be awesome throughout my 30s, and then maybe in my 40s settle down and be off the tools. But at this point, I realize that the sky is the limit, and within millwrighting, there are lots of opportunities to go into teaching, or because there's so many aspects of the job, you can specialize. For instance, I removed a boiler feed pump earlier this week. We just put it on a transport truck to go out to British Columbia, and it's going to be rebuilt by millwrights who specialize in this type of pump in British Columbia. So you can pick something you like. And if you really like pumps or compressors, you can do that for your career. So maybe I would consider specializing or move up from middle management into upper management, or even have my own business one day.
Amazing. I love this idea of skilled tradespeople as future business people too, because so much opportunity there when there is a demand. Kate, Celeste, Jesse, thank you all so much. This was an outstanding discussion. I'm sure many people in the 300 or more classrooms that we're streaming into right now really enjoyed following along. Thanks, everybody.